Hi, I'm Larry Johnson. Welcome to today's episode of Counter Currents. I'm pleased to have a return visit from General Buzhinsky. The general served in a position that was like the equivalent of the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency for Russia. He was there during the 90s and the early 2000s, a time of great transformation for the Russian military. I think you'll find our conversation very enlightening. Encourage you to hit the like and subscribe button and let your friends know about this conversation. Enjoy. Okay, great. I'm glad I've got a chance to chat with you again because I've got more questions and you're the man of wisdom with your experience. So first, I'd like to get you lived through the most incredible period. I think it would rank as the most incredible period in Russia's history to go from the Soviet Union to, let's call the 90s, this complete collapse. I don't think any other country in recent memory has experienced what Russia experienced in that period. But then the rebirth. I can't tell you how just overwhelmed, amazed I was by what I saw both in Moscow, St. Petersburg. I even got outside the city to some of the smaller towns. This, Russia now stands as a model and example. How to, reflect on that in terms of your life experience, because you've been right in the middle of this since you entered the military in 1976.
Yes, 1970, actually 1968. I went armed forces, and before that, I spent 7 years in cadet school.
Okay.
So I'm wearing my shoulder straps from the age of 11.
Okay.
So it's been a long military life. Yes, you are absolutely right. The 90s were disastrous for the state, were disastrous from the armed forces. First of all, I've already explained you the reasons why the armed forces of Russia were in such miserable conditions in the 90s. It happened because in the time of the Soviet Union, all the bulk of the Soviet armed forces, fully equipped with modern equipment, full strength, full trained, were deployed, first of all, in Eastern Europe, in Germany, about 1 million people, slightly less, let's say, about 850,000 men in Germany, then Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Poland. So those were the 4 groups of forces, I again repeat, fully equipped. And then the military districts, so we had the graduation of first class and second class military districts. First class were military districts along our border with the West. So that was the Baltic military district, Leningrad, no, Baltic, Kiev, Belarus, and Transcaucasia military, Odessa also military district. So all of them were left in the former Soviet republics. In Ukraine, Belarus, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Armenia.
Mm-hmm.
And moreover, when in the year 1990, we started withdrawal of our forces from Eastern Europe, all the forces were dispersed between those military districts on our western border. Belarusian, mainly Belarusian, and Kiev and Odessa. So Ukraine and Belarus. Those were the two countries where especially the Western group of forces from Germany and then Hungary, Czechoslovakia, and Poland. And of course, what was left in Russia, not all the units were not fully well. Not fully equipped. Most of them were just half strength or even 30% strength. I mean, in the terms of personnel. So that was the reason why we had so many difficulties in our first Chechen War, when the general staff had to actually collect units from all over Russia, from the Far East, from from all the inner districts, military districts of the Soviet Union. Well, but
let me ask you a question right there. Did you realize at the time that Western intelligence units were backing, supplying, supporting the Chechen insurgents?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. We knew that. We actually we saw the number. First of all, the number of the so-called volunteers from Arab countries, and we also knew about Western instructors, about the involvement of Western intelligence, first of all of the American CIA,
Yeah.
Not military intelligence, but mostly CIA.
Right.
The Brits were very active. Those were actually two countries which support. I mean, from the West, which consulted, advised, and equipped the Chechen formations, and of course, a lot of people from Arab countries were actually fighting on their side.
Yeah, in fact, I think this was sort of a continuation of the program that the CIA ran in Afghanistan.
All right.
During the 1980s. So it was
right. Right, absolutely right.
And then continued it, unfortunately, into the Second Chechen War in 1999.
Yes, but when the Second Chechen War started, the Russian armed forces were in better shape.
Mm-hmm.
In better shape from the viewpoint of personnel, from the viewpoint of equipment, and from the viewpoint of combat training and combat experience. We learned lessons from the first Chechen War.
Yeah. How did the Russian military survive during that period from 92 until when Vladimir Putin steps in as prime minister in August of 1999? I mean, it would seem that this would have been, an institutional crisis, because the Soviet Union had disappeared, the political commissars were no longer there, but the tradition of the Russian military that goes back 300 years.
Larry, now, of course, I was lucky, me personally, because in the year 1992, I joined the International Treaties Department of the Ministry of Defense and was sent to Vienna to work at the negotiations on CFE, on the Vienna document. So all those open skies, all those papers within the OEC framework. So I was actually slightly better. But still, I was not stationed there permanently, but on a rotation basis. 3 months there, 3 months in Moscow, and that continued for 7 years. But in Moscow, of course, we didn't even get our salaries for months, for 2 months, for 3 months. And when I spoke to my Western colleagues in Vienna, they ask, and you still serve? I say, yes. Without money? I said, yes, without money. How come? It's for Western people, it was absolutely unacceptable to continue service when you are not paid.
Well, and I think, knowing my former organization, that they would have, Western intelligence would have tried to take advantage of that by recruiting people on the basis of, hey, we can pay you money, we can give you cash, and I'm sure that created a real counterintelligence problem for the FSB.
You're right, Larry, but if you mean just recruiting military people for spying, no, that was not the case. There were, of course, cases, but not on a massive basis.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It speaks to, what I'm saying is it speaks to the integrity of you and your other fellow officers, that in such dire circumstances you didn't succumb to that temptation.
Yeah, we of course we lost a lot of people from science, people from higher education system. Those, yes, they actually went to the West, to the United States, to UK, to France, mostly these two countries, to Canada, to Australia. I know some people who actually, because of the lack of payment, because of the lack of facilities, because a lot of scientific facilities were actually ruined, not physically, but mentally ruined. But as for the military, yes, it's unbelievable, but it happened that our government managed to keep armed forces, of course, in smaller numbers. Well, the equipment was not so good, but still we managed. What was for me not strange, but surprised me, that the combat readiness of our nuclear triumph was actually kept at the level of the Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
That was. The Navy, of course, was in not in that good situation, because a lot of nuclear submarines were, with your help, were utilized, unfortunately. But the ground missile forces and Air Force were in relatively good shape.
Well, so you were there during this period where, in with the benefit of hindsight, I've now argued that I don't think the United States ever had a genuine, sincere interest in making Russia a partner, both diplomatically, economically, and militarily. that the plan was really from the outset, starting 1995. Maybe becoming formalized in 1997 with the de facto NATO presence at Yevgeny Air Force Base in western Ukraine, that there was never any serious intent on having a genuine cooperative relationship between Russia and NATO. It was always, in other words, NATO always needed Russia as the villain, in order to justify military expenditures. Do you think that's a fair assessment, or how do you
Yes,
see it?
that's a fair assessment. Moreover, NATO in the 90s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, after the collapse of Warsaw Treaty Pact, NATO was in a kind of disarray. You see, no real enemy.
Right.
So NATO was actually looking for any kind of adversary, terrorism, for Yugoslavia, Afghanistan, Bin Laden, whoever it was. And of course, in the at the beginning of 2000s, when Russia first at Yugoslavia expressed its expressed its position of actually supporting Serbia and supporting Milosevic. And afterwards, when Russia actually protested against the Libyan bombardment and so on and so forth, then NATO, I mean, I was responsible for NATO in my department, actually, in the Ministry of Defense. I visited Brussels, dozens of times, and I witnessed that the NATO people, in the 2000s, started breathing more freely. Of course, now we have not complete adversary. Complete adversary appeared after 2014, but before that, it was again Russia, which should be contained, which should be should be seen as not an enemy, but kind of adversary. So that was
because during I spent 23 years scripting counterterrorism exercises for JSOC and SOCOM. But in that capacity, I did a lot of work with EUCOM and AFRICOM and the different commands. So understanding how military exercises are constructed and executed, it appears that in the 2000s, that at least prior to 2014, Russia was still able to be an observer at these NATO military exercises, but was not a full-fledged participant, whereas it appears Ukraine was a full-fledged participant. Was that the case back then?
Larry, one example. They used to be exercises, it was in the 90s, beginning of 2000s, Baltic Challenge. Baltic Challenge, so two-stage exercise. The first stage where Russia participated, rescue operations, peacekeeping operations, all kind of those half-military operations.
Right.
Then stage two, we were told, okay, gentlemen, now we are conducting the second phase of the exercise in the context of Article 5. Please, thank you very much. We are not participating. And then we use a script of the exercises. Huge, politically and economically unstable country in the east, which attacks a small country on its western borders with no reason, with no provocation. Then the mighty NATO concentrates, mobilizes, and strike back. And of course, defeats the. When I asked my NATO colleagues, because I worked with them, we had a lot of cooperation programs in missile defense, in cargo lifting. When I asked them, what is the huge unstable country in the east? Russia? No, it's not Russia. It's some imaginary country. Well, I said China. Well, no, China is too far away. So we just imagine hypothetically that. So that was the
Not very good liars.
of course. So that was the real. But we again, I repeat, we conducted, for example, in missile defense, we conducted joint exercises. We examined the level of compat. So the level of possible integration of our interoperability. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the term. So as a result, we found that we are quite interoperable, and we can jointly conduct anti-aircraft missions and the missile missions if the threat is coming from the south. But still, of course, we had a joint group with the United States on missile defense. I headed the Russian side. The head of the Missile Defense Agency on the American side. We started in 2002 when United States withdrew from the ABM Treaty.
Right.
There was a joint declaration. We organized that group. So we for 6 years, again, we exchanged models. We exchanged informed each other about our activities in the field of missile defense. Of course, at that time, Russia was not even thinking of creating a missile defense system in Russia, because first of all, because of the size of the territory, and even to create object missile defense, we did not have, first of all, money. Second, we didn't have enough missile systems, but still we had quite a good modeling experience and modeling base. And we actually it stopped after Georgia, and when we at the final meeting, in my last words closing the last session, I said, yes, we have achieved some results, but as what my conclusion is that we have different physics, we have different mathematics, and different assumption of the shape of the Earth, because we exchange models. We were modeling the same situations. The Russian model showed interception possible. The American model said interception not possible. So that was quite funny.
I ran some numbers that I found really surprising. That I asked, I did the query about which countries in NATO hosted the most NATO and U.S. EUCOM exercises. Mm-hmm. And, out of what at the time was like 30, this is, before Finland, Sweden came in, out of 30 NATO countries, starting from 1995 up to, say, 2024, Ukraine hosted more NATO military exercises, U.S. EUCOM exercises, than 24 other NATO countries. Was there any point when you and your colleagues, other Russian officers, were saying, what the hell's going on? I mean, they clearly, it would appear to me, they're clearly planning on something to use Ukraine against us.
Yes, you are absolutely right, Larry. They started the series of naval exercises, Sea Breeze,
Hmm.
in the 90s. We were against, we never participated, even, well, the population of Sevastopol, once they tried to conduct the exercises in the vicinity of Sevastopol and land in Sevastopol, the population prevented the landing of NATO people from the NATO warships. Yes, at Yavor firing range, they trained and conducted exercises. Yes, we saw that, but unfortunately, our at that time our policy towards Ukraine was, in my personal view, was very short-sighted.
Hmm.
Well, we should have acted more decisively because we uh, well because the of our base Black Sea Fleet base in Sevastopol, we actually supplied Ukraine with gas practically free of charge. We supplied them with actually our technical military cooperation on the Russian side was much more generous than it was on the Ukrainian side. So a lot of things were done, in my view, not in a proper mode. We should have
Yeah.
acted more. I wouldn't say aggressively, but more decisively, explaining Ukraine that such a behavior may lead to very sad consequences. One example, for example, well, we conducted with them, we signed the treaty on Black Sea Fleet. It was because of the lack of proper people, the lack of experienced people in the Ministry of Defense. In my department at that time, I was just joined the department when that treaty was being drafted. So the agreement was with so many loopholes that it was clear from the very beginning that it would not work properly.
Hmm.
And that happened because Ukraine did not allow us to substitute any single warship or even auxiliary ship. So the fleet was actually dying because of the age. No new warship was introduced in the Black Sea during the Ukrainian during the Ukraine possession of Crimea. Only after 2014, the Black Sea Fleet started its modernization, but of course it lagged behind so much that it was not very easy. Let's put it like this.
Well, when did it strikes me that prior to 2022, and specifically in January of 2022, when the draft security treaty that President Putin had presented to Joe Biden in December of 2021, until the outright rejection of that by Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, it seems that Russia still sort of held out a hope or a belief that it could have a normal relationship with the West, that it could be incorporated, that there was a way that we could work together as partners. Is it fair to say that there was that perception prior to 2022?
Well, Larry,
And you can disagree with me all because
I disagree. No,
okay.
had no illusions because, of course, the what was presented to the West was a bit of, in my personal opinion, was a paper for further negotiation.
Right, right.
Further compromises could have been reached because some Russian proposals, again, I repeat, were a bit too much, in my opinion, especially NATO withdrawal to the line of 1992. Of course, that was not possible, but we hope that the kind of serious negotiations would follow.
Sure.
And some compromises could have been reached on NATO expansion, on stationing of NATO forces, on Ukraine, by the way. Of course, at that time, Crimea was out of the question. But as for Donbass, and Putin showed it in the Minsk agreement, we were ready just for kind of autonomy of, not autonomy, but a more self-determination on the part of Donbass, but within, as part of Ukraine, of course.
Sure.
More rights, more allow the voice in solving some issues like joining NATO, joining EU, but still Donbass, according to the Putin proposals, were part of Ukraine. We didn't want any independence of Donbass, or even Donbass being part of Russia. It came only after end of 21, when our proposals in December were rejected, and Ukraine, we recognized the independence of Donbass and Lugansk, asked Ukraine stop, not before we asked officially Ukraine stop shelling Donetsk and stop shelling Lugansk. They intensified shelling, then their independence were recognized, and they afterwards became part of Russia.
I saw...
but still not the whole of them.
I was in a museum there on Red Square, saw the poster, if my pronunciation's wrong, to correct me, but it said Donbass serce Russia. Donbass, the heart of Russia?
It used to be. It used to be in the 19th century. Yes, it was the industrial heart of Russia. And Donbass, and the whole of Novorossiya, Odessa, Nikolaev, Kherson, Zaporozhye, Dnepropetrovsk, Donetsk, Lugansk, Kharkiv, Sumy. Those were absolutely Russian regions. It was Lenin who did.
Well, you lost your sound. There it comes. Oh, you're back.
To strengthen the working class of Ukraine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's something that's I don't think it's really appreciated here in the West. And
yes. Well, when Putin says that Ukraine actually is artificial state, that's right, because Lenin gave Ukraine actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 Russian regions, which were part. In the Russian Empire, were absolutely part of Russian Empire. Stalin, after World War II, gave them 5 regions which belonged to Hungary, Poland, and Romania.
Yeah, it was crazy that,
And then Khrushchev, presented Crimea to Ukraine.
yeah, so here's the Stalin from Georgia, Nikita Khrushchev, born in Russia, but really raised in Ukraine.
Yes.
Then Brezhnev out of Kiev, so it was like, where are the Russians?
Yes, you're absolutely right, because we Russia, well, in the time of the Soviet Union, the policy of the Soviet leadership was to strengthen the border parts of the Soviet Union, Asian republics, Caucasian republics, Ukraine, Baltic republics. Baltic republics, for example, before they joined Russia, they were just Estonia never existed as independent state. Latvia never existed as an independent state. Only Lithuania. But in the 40s, they were all purely agricultural areas, regions.
Yeah,
in the Soviet Union, they have become the industrial, actually the window of the Soviet Union.
Yeah, what's crazy, I think, again, most Americans don't appreciate how tiny these countries are population-wise. I think the combined populations of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania don't even rise up to be what is the population of Moscow.
Yeah, well, even less now, even less.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember the exact figures, but about 40% of their population, after they joined the European Union, they fled. They fled to further west.
Yeah.
So now from the viewpoint of population, they're quite miserable.
Well, we got a few minutes left, and I'd like to close out getting your thoughts on. It appears there's been a shift in the tactics now being employed by the Russian military in Ukraine. That the previous war of attrition that was focused primarily, almost exclusively on military targets, now seems to have shifted and is having more effect as well on the oil refineries. I noticed that they took out the Sokar oil terminal there in Odessa, which was Azerbaijan's, and both able to send a message to Azerbaijan for all of its, what I'll call its misbehavior over the last several months. But it seems like there's the tempo of operations has increased and the scope of operations have increased. Is that how you see it?
You are absolutely right. Moreover, as I've told you last time we spoke, the goal to minimize losses still in force. So that's why no major offensives, no major involvement of troops, which of course, in any case, entail greater losses. So small groups encircling towns, cutting the logistic routes, and slowly, of course, the tempo increased, let's say, especially this year. And now the strikes are delivered mostly against the energy sector, against oil refineries, pipes, and enterprises of military-industrial sector, just to destroy the logistics of the Ukrainian forces and to destroy the enterprises, industrial enterprises, some of them created with the help of European countries, not United States, but mostly Germany, France, to destroy those enterprises. For example, the latest one, when we practically completely destroyed two enterprises in Pavlograd and two enterprises in Suma, which were involved in production of the so-called Sapsan cruise missile, which actually is a German cruise missile, not
it's
not Taurus,
a Taurus disguised as something that Ukraine made. Yeah. It is. What was your reaction to the Alaska summit?
Well, you see, of course, we know very little about what happened in Alaska, but I'm judging by the reaction, first of all, of President Trump and his team, of President Putin and his team, that they have reached agreement and they have reached understanding of each other's position, not only on Ukraine. I'm sure that the scope of those talks, not negotiations, were much wider than Ukraine. Of course, Ukraine maybe was the topic number one.
Right.
But both sides expressed satisfaction on the results. But unfortunately, of course, the position of European countries is absolutely non-constructive. And I don't know what President Trump will do in a couple of weeks. He said today that in a couple of weeks he will understand and make his decision how to proceed. But of course, Zelensky today said that he actually rejected everything which he agreed upon with President Trump in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it was. I described the Monday meeting. I don't know what the Russian word for pimp is, the person that runs the prostitutes, but you had the 7 European pimps with their one prostitute, Zelensky. Because, that's all he serves. Get us more money from those Americans.
Yeah, money, weapons, protection, intelligence, everything give us. And Zelensky was absolutely right. When he was asked, what do you want? He said, everything.
Yeah.
Money, weaponry, all you can give us, I will take.
Well, I hope that the general, I heard it reported, I don't know if there's any truth to it, but the general staff told President Putin that they think they can have this, at least the Donbass, significantly wrapped up in 2 to 3 months. And once that's broken, Ukraine is broken, I believe.
Well, I hope so, that we still have Kramatorsk and Slavinsk. Of course, they quite reinforced cities, but now with the quite a shortage of, especially shortage of personnel, I don't think that Ukraine will manage to, even with the supplies of European weaponry, they will not manage to continue fighting for a long time. Yeah. Now it's not a war of attrition, and now it's a war which will lead. Well, if I were Zelensky, I would accept the offer because, as Putin put it, every next offer would be worse than the previous one.
Yeah, absolutely. General Buzhinsky, thank you so much. I mean, I always appreciated our first chat. The second one's is good, if not better. And I look forward to being able to do it again, hopefully in person.
Okay, Larry. Hope to see you in Moscow.
Thank you so much, and you have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, to say I'm a fan of General Yevgeny Buzhinsky would be an understatement. He's candid. He is very thoughtful, and the experience he has, having lived through this most critical period, I believe, in Russia's entire history, maybe with the exception of the Great Patriotic War. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button. I'm Larry Johnson. And this is Countercurrents.